Hello and welcome to the Winners Find a Way show. I am your host, Trent Clark. I am the CEO of Leadershipity. I am a serial entrepreneur and entrepreneur organization member, soon to be the president of EO West Michigan. I just wrote a book recently called Leading Winning Teams with Wiley Publishing. Check that out. It's a great book, learning everything about how I direct myself as a leader of 24/7 leadership now for sure. Although I do and have started 14 companies and I have trained a lot of people around the world, probably most people know me because I spent over 13 years in 3 World Series in Major League Baseball as a coach of strength and conditioning. So I am super pumped up today on the Winners Find a Way show to welcome the Greek mystique, Peter Kofitsas, because we are going to talk all things Peter K. Fitness. What's up, buddy?
What's up, Trent? I love that. Can
Man,
you show those rings again? I got to show my son.
I can't argue, man, with anything. It's so good, man. And I'm so excited to talk shop with you today. You and I have a lot of common background, and you're continuing on this wellness journey because you're a healthy guy. I think a lot of people have probably seen it. If you have not, you're gonna want to check out Peter's reels out there. He's a great chef. He does tons of stuff in the recipe business and all about, making food that is health and wellness for you. Like what we're putting in our body is our fuel. And Peter really gets that. And you're going to want to tap into him. In fact, Peter today has something special for all our viewers. You can email him at Peter@PeterKofitsas, KOFITSAS.com. And he is going to send you a recipe and workout for the professional. Like this is for someone who's going to be wellness. He has very specifics in education and schools and corporate wellness that he's done and he's presented all over the world. We're going to talk about that, but you're going to want to pick that up here. First of all, besides your email, where else can they find you online?
My website, peterkofitsas.com, is the best place to start. My social media is there. That's a good place to start.
You don't own GreekMystique.com? Is that not that's not your thing?
Trent, someone has that, surprisingly.
Someone's already got, I may have to buy it out at some point, but maybe we got to do like the Greek Mystique recipe book, and then you got Greek Mystique recipe or something. So yeah, married, then divorced. You had 3 great children, 2 adult children, lovely 2 girls, and your young boy, 17, almost hitting that adulthood. And you guys are big baseball fans on the tour, visiting all the stadiums. So you're loving that and enjoy spending time, I know, with your children, because I've seen it in your reels. I've seen it. And man, I got to tell you, like your energy that you give and you light up when you're with them, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, man. They inspire me. We talked a little bit before we got on air about our childhoods, and I just wanted to I didn't consciously say this, I just wanted to do something different than my dad did.
Yeah.
No judgments, just like, here's how I want to be a father. And I just did that. So I appreciate my kids, and they're constantly keeping me accountable, and I want them to be proud of me. And I also want to help them in their journeys and their paths and teach them from the things that I've learned.
Yeah, I think it's so important. And I had great parents, man. My parents are awesome. My father's passed, and they were married, I think 57, 58 years when he passed. And man, I mean, although all of us have had different parenting level, I don't know a single person who doesn't look at their parents and go, you know what? I'm not going to do it that way. I'll tell you, like, it's one of those things like, like there's a couple things that just aren't okay around here, and I got to do it something different, but we're going to get into that a little bit. Athlete, big time athlete, what most people don't know about you, because you don't state it a lot in your social presence, is that you were a highly recruited high school football player, turned down a pretty number of good programs to stay in Jersey and play for Rutgers. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. And I don't talk about it, Trent, because it was a tough time in my life, and I kind of buried it like we do, and we're trying to be successful and do the things that we think are going to bring us happiness. So I didn't talk about it for years. I'm also a physical therapist and a nutritionist, and I've been the director of multidisciplinary centers. I worked with guys for 10 years, chiropractors, before they we were having a conversation, and I was like, yeah, I played at Rutgers, and we played Penn State at Penn State, and we beat them. They're like, what? They turned to me, Pete, we've known you for 10 years. You don't mention this? He goes, oh yeah, I forgot. I didn't forget. I just, I didn't think about it because I wasn't proud of that time. I walked away from a full scholarship.
Yeah.
It's a long story, Trent. We don't have enough time, unfortunately, to get into it. But basically, I thought I was a failure because I walked away from a full scholarship. I came from two poor Greek immigrant parents with third grade education. And then for the next 7-10 years, I tried to figure out what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a winner. I wanted a better quality of life. I got my undergraduate degree. I got my master's of science degree in physical therapy. And then I started a speaking business to motivate people because I was trying to motivate myself. I'm sure you could relate to a lot of this.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I mean, and I think it's one of those moments in time. I mean, you did have a couple great memories, right? 1989, you guys go into Happy Valley and beat Penn State. The next year, nationally televised game in Giant Stadium versus Penn State. I mean, those are big moments for a kid's life. Now, when we talk about winners find a way, I want to talk a little bit about this because, there's a great quote from the 4 disciplines of execution. It says, winners, when shown data that they're losing, find a way to win. As a young man, you're a kid coming up, you're a highly acclaimed athlete. You're from these Greek immigrant parents who came over here for a better life to give their children a real opportunity, and they work hard. And man, that's a story throughout our U.S. history of that's really shaped our country, is these immigrants who've come, and we're all immigrants, right? Like we're all none of us are actually original, right? Except the Native Americans. So it's pretty wild. One of the major challenges and part of this football setback is you're a 16-year-old boy, and these immigrant parents who came to work so hard, your dad kills himself. And man, as a kid going, man, you did this and we're going to get a better life. And you really did that. Like, you've made his legacy so proud because you do have a great life, and you've done what he came for. But no 16-year-old understands that. Is that fair?
Oh, 100%, man. I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. It was a very public way that he did it, and it was a shock. And, we tried, my brother, sister, and I, we're all athletes, by the way. My brother was a great athlete. My sister got scholarships for volleyball and basketball. She chose basketball, went on to Greece to play professionally. She's probably the best athlete of all of us, which is awesome. But as kids, we didn't know. We were ashamed. We were embarrassed. I'll speak for myself. I was embarrassed, ashamed. That's why I didn't talk about that. I really didn't talk about my father's suicide until recently. I didn't talk about my scholarship because I thought it ended tragic. I thought I ended it like a loser. I quit my scholarship, but all of that shaped me, made me want to win. I wanted better for myself, and I always wanted kids, and I wanted to show them how to win. I wanted them to win in their lives, whatever the direction they want to go to. So I'm grateful for it now. This, going through it, it's tough. You're not like, oh, thank you, God, for giving me these challenges and struggles, but when you reflect, you say, I'm glad I had it, because now I know what it is to suffer, and I could tell people when I speak to my audiences, when I speak to corporate America and to schools around the country, I can stand up in front of any audience, Trent, and say, I know what it is to struggle, to grow up in a home that's got challenges, and we all do. I was overweight. I was 60 pounds heavier when I played at Rutgers. I ate. If you put food in front of me, I ate it, man. I was a poor kid. And I was also trying to stuff my feelings. So I was 60 pounds overweight. I looked and felt terrible. So I know what it's like to be overweight. I know what it's like to lose a parent. I know what it's like to grow up in a home that, your father's telling you you're not good enough. You'll never be good enough. Projecting onto me his own insecurities. I didn't know that at the time. I know what it is to be bankrupt, to lose everything, and then to build those businesses back up. So I'm grateful now, but going through it, it's tough. That's why I always say to my audiences, like, if you're struggling, there's nothing wrong with you. There's a reason, there's a purpose. Find that purpose. I think winners, and you, Trent, could share this with me. I think winners find a purpose, and that's how they succeed in whatever it is that they're doing.
I think it's absolutely a crucial element of winning, and I think a losing component is when you lose your way on that purpose. It's an automatic. It's like a detour, right? That you didn't know you were taking. It's like, oh, hey, listen, look, here's an exit, and all of a sudden your purpose is to head into the city, right? And Manhattan's not far from you, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, it's beautiful over here in North Jersey, and then all of a sudden you might find yourself in Maine one of these times. Like, hey, like, listen, you're way off where you're supposed to be going. You know,
Mhm.
and it's easy, and it doesn't take much to get distracted a little bit off our purpose. And you've really hit on something there that
Yep.
is tough, because that focus. And one of the real things I was thinking about is you're telling your story about how you can identify now with folks. Is a lot of my clients, they're world beaters, right, Peter? And you meet them all the time in physical therapy. They're coming and they're just drivers, and I succeed at everything, and
Mhm.
they're not strong. And for myself also, empathy, not a strong point, right? So this lesson. So I'm talking. Actually, I just came back from a retreat in Colorado with a great client. Tragic accident with one of the team members, and this woman is a world beater, man. Like, she is on fire. She has got a doctorate in get stuff done. I mean,
Mm.
GSD, like, it's happening. She's like whack, 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 whack. Now, she's probably accused of not being very empathetic as a leader. She's a hard charger. And boy, has this experience changed her when you're incapacitated and you need somebody's help to do the smallest things, right? And it's
Yeah.
so humbling. And so I think for really that lesson of you going through this makes you such a stronger leader, because when people are hurting, you're like, hey, I understand that. And I really can feel that. And I will give you the time you need. I'm here to support you. And a lot of folks who haven't had that challenge don't get that.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
That's that's true, man. And or sometimes if they had the challenge, they might not connect to the value they could bring to someone to say, look, I was abused, I was told I wasn't good enough, I was left hungry, and I understand that, but I'm gonna I want to help you, but you have to be accountable. You have to help yourself too. I'm gonna support you in any way. When I talk to my audiences, when I coach my clients one-on-one, my life coaching and health coaching, I
Yeah.
I I say, I'm gonna support you, but you have to do the work. I'm gonna have empathy for you because I know what it is to struggle, but I know you could overcome that struggle too. I think some people that have never struggled, right, they might not have that empathy. And some people who have overcome challenges, like me for those years, I didn't want to think about those challenges. I just wanted to plow through anything, like put something in front of me. I'm going to succeed. I'm going to talk in front of 500 people, even though I never did it, because I'm just going to do whatever it takes to be successful.
Yeah.
But, but now I could be empathetic and say, look, I understand your challenge, but you've got so much potential. Here's what you could do. Here's what winners do. They do this, this, and this. It's a formula for success, which I love.
Yeah, and I like the perspective that you get that probably most people don't appreciate as a man who graduates from college, because there's perseverance in staying 7 years after hey, I walked away from a full-time scholarship, because you don't go to school with many people at college that are 25 to 27 years old,
Yeah.
right? And then even stronger, this is interesting because you go to physical therapy school and finish that, I think 10 years after that. Is that accurate?
Just about, yeah.
Yeah. And so who's at PT school at 35 years old? Like everyone's trying to finish at 25 so they can start working, right? So you have a life perspective around these kids that have just
Yeah.
been, hey, I've been in school for the last 6 years of my life, right? And you're like going, I had to go out there and live it. And I had to go burn the boats and make the mistakes and do all
Yeah.
this stuff. And you're coming in at it from a very different angle that they likely don't understand, which is very unique to me.
Yeah, you're right, Trent. I don't think of it from that perspective, but maybe I can relate to my audience because my perspective is different. I did things at different times.
Yeah.
There's other people like you and me that have overcome challenges, but it does give you a unique perspective, right? That maybe when you're coaching, you could find people's strength because you see it because you saw it in yourself at some point, and then you could.
Yeah, yeah, I think that traditional that still gets there because I'm sure there's no college guidance counselors telling 33-year-olds, hey, you should go back to PT school right now. Like, oh, I've got kids, I've got a wife to take care of, like I've got bills, right? Like, and you're
Yeah,
like, that's terrible advice. I got 3 mouths to feed. Like, what are you talking about? And so
yeah.
non-traditional tends to bring new perspective and shape new ideas and overcome new challenges, which I love because it gives you the ability to pass that on to others. Is that fair?
Yeah, 100%. Like I've read literature, you probably have too, that people who are successful, they just look at things differently than unsuccessful people. And I don't mean that as a judgment or a put down.
Yeah.
They see potential where in someone else is like, there's no way it's too hard. It's going to take too long. It costs too much. I'm already so busy. Where someone who wants to be successful is going to say, I'm going to do it no matter what. Even if
Yeah.
someone says I'm not good enough, fast enough, strong enough, smart enough, rich enough, this is my purpose, man. Nothing is going to stop me from doing this. And we find literally winners find a way. I didn't intentionally mean that, but winners find a way to do what they feel like they're supposed to do.
Well, I think that purpose, let's come back to that purpose because that's really important. And as I kind of reflect on this, I tell a lot of people, man, I surround myself with winners. Like, I am a big proponent of you become the 5 people you spend time with. So
Mm,
I'm choosing those 5 very wisely because it doesn't take long to drift off what you want to do. And it doesn't
yeah.
take long to get off on the wrong exit ramp and get lost on your purpose, right? And the reality is that when people find their purpose, their commitment follows. And people that are interested in something are probably not interested in their purpose. Because for me, the difference is committed is doing it and interested is talking about it. So if you're headed on this road and you're talking about this thing that, yeah, I think this is my purpose. I think so. And I'm interested, but you're unable to take action. I don't think you found your purpose because once you find the purpose, committed action starts taking role. And now it's really easy for them to get those great advices from Peter to go, hey, these are the 5 things you need to do this month to towards your purpose. And I'm like, well, of course, no problem. I'm so committed to that, Peter, because if you're telling me this is how I'm going to get there, I'm all in because they can see it and they're driving it and you've got them guided. The GPS is locked. No exits. Nope, you're not getting off. Let's go. You're going right on the roadmap. And if they're not committed, easy to, maybe I'll stop for a latte. Hey, this is a nice hotel. I'll stay.
Yep.
Like, oh, I met somebody. I'm going to live here now. I forgot about moving to California. Like, what are we talking about? Like,
Yeah.
the whole thing gets jangled. What have you
Yeah.
seen as a coach with your clients?
Well, I love what you said. We are the sum. I've read this too, wherever. We are the sum of the 5 people we hang out with most. And I love what you said. Choose wisely. Like, look, you can't choose your family, but you don't have to
Yeah.
be with them all the time. Look, I'm not telling you how to be with your family, but sometimes family can be challenging, but you could choose who you're with when you're not with your family. And you could choose maybe not to listen. Maybe a family member is projecting their own fears onto you. You say, I'm going to start a company. I'm going to lose 20 pounds. I'm going to run a marathon. I'm going to make, $1 million. And someone in the family or someone that might say, well, you can't do that. You've got family to support. You don't have the time. You've already failed. You can't lose weight. You've lost weight and you've gained it back. You can't stick to an exercise program. if you're surrounded with those 5 people, you're going to be inspired by them and you're going to learn something from them. Even if it's not how to lose weight, you could learn from a mentor how to never give up. You know, I have people in my life. My brother's an architect. My sister is a physical therapist that treats dogs. She's brilliant. She's a canine physical therapist. I've seen them hit challenges in their professional lives and they just pivoted. They figured it out and they continue to be successful. They have their downtimes. So I learned from them. My family happens, these people in my family happen to be mentors for me because I admire them and I know what we all survived. We lived through this childhood and we came out on the other end like phoenixes out of the fire. Literally, that's what my therapist Frank says. We're the 3 of you are like phoenixes from rising from the fire because you had this childhood and you just decided to do something about it. And surrounding yourself with great people was one thing. I also tell my clients, I wrote something down here. You know, I've always had the potential, Trent, somehow to see the good in people, even when I couldn't see it in myself. I failed my first 3 public speaking classes. So people sometimes hear me speak and they're like, God, you're such a natural. I wish I could do that, but I don't have the confidence that you have. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You know, the overnight success takes 10 years, right?
Yeah.
And I failed my first 3 public speaking classes because I was petrified to speak in public. But I had a purpose. I wanted to have a voice. Part of that was, you know, my father was long gone. I never felt good enough for him. So I know this now. If I spoke and was successful and was on TV, I'd get my father's love. But that doesn't make sense because he's not even around anymore.
Yeah.
But enmeshed in that was my true self, which is somehow I refer to it. I'm supposed to have experienced these challenging things in my life and then teach others about it. Not that I'm better, but saying, hey, if you're struggling, it's okay, man. You're not alone. Here's what you could do. You could eat this way. You can exercise this way. You could direct your mind this way when you're eating and exercising. You can control your anxiety and you can tap into your best self by doing these things that we know that successful people do. That's why I love doing what I do because it's not that complicated. You know, it's simple, but it's not easy. The psychology is what holds us back a lot of times.
For sure. I mean, listen, I really appreciate this, man, because like this is part of my purpose, right? I mean, I had phenomenal experiences growing up, and I've had these crazy experiences of, man, I think like seven championships in 11 years, 3 state championships in high school, 2 college national championship runs, and 2 World Series runs. I mean, this is from the time I was 16 to the time I was 27, right? I mean, crazy. I am auditing excellence at every moment on this journey. And now that's my calling. This is why we do the Winners Find a Way show, because I've got these experiences and I would have loved to have been a 25-year-old listening to a Peter Kofitsas talk to me about like better wellness and discipline that he has and modeling that in his life. Like, and I'm like, whoa, man, there's all these people out there that I don't necessarily need to know how to do this. They'll show me, and I don't need a book because they live it. You know, like this is crazy, and I can literally just do what he does, and I'm gonna be healthier. I'm gonna be feeling better. I'm gonna sleep better. I'm gonna be a better athlete. I'm gonna be a better dad. And it's not. This is and we often talk about like education by osmosis, right? But it's a form of flattery, folks. Like, go out and do what they do because they are winners, man. And they have got that mindset. So this is why you got to reach out to Peter, right? He's like, he's a corporate guy. He goes and talks to schools. And I want to talk about your schoolwork because it's really interesting to me. I am a teacher by trade. Most people don't know that. I have a teaching degree and never taught in a public school other than like substitute teaching and student teaching. And the students are going through a lot, but the teachers are at the crux. And your wellness program really addresses the mindset, the wellness,
Yeah.
the overload, the burnout of the teachers. And this is much more prevalent. In fact, Peter, I don't tell a lot of people this, but the reason why I left and never saw myself as a teacher was my minimal experience with what I thought were they were some of my favorite teachers. When I met them in the teacher's lounge as a substitute in this, I found out how burned out and
Yeah.
depressed, maybe
Yeah.
depressed. Couldn't
Yeah.
clinically diagnose that, but like they actually
Mhm.
were. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be me in 20 years. I don't want it. And the very people who got me into that were the very people who said you shouldn't stay.
Yeah. I hear you, man. I see that all the time. I was married to a teacher for 24 years, with her for 27, the mother of my 3 children. I admire her. I
Right.
saw her every day, go to school, give everything she's got, then come home and feel guilty because she doesn't have anything left for her own kids. And she was still an amazing mother and still is. But the interesting thing is, for years, I've been speaking to corporate to companies, Goldman Sachs, Chase, and talking about motivation. And then I blended wellness because it just made sense to me. The way I became successful is I took care of myself first by eating, exercising, directing my mind. And then I was motivated, and then I was successful in my business. Recently, the last 3 years, a superintendent asked me to speak to their principals in their district. And man, it just clicked because all I did was say, why are you here? You're serving children. Like, were you called to teach? This could be in corporate too. This could be an athlete. It doesn't, any area of your life. Why are you here in this room, in this chair right now? And you could tap into that. Then you have all the motivation you need because you've got your purpose. Now, I don't see anyone else doing this. Now blend in what we know about eating to compete, training for confidence, power, literally power and confidence from training. When you know this, when you and I exercise, our body releases this cascade of feel good chemicals, neurotransmitters, endorphins. I was speaking at a resort last week, and in the audience was an oncologist. And so I'm talking about exercise, the benefits psychologically, physically, emotionally. And she goes, Peter, when you're exercising, your body's also producing cytotoxic T cells. They're called killer T cells. They literally eat cancer. They're like little Pac-Men. I was like, man, this is the best. I love it. So I'm exercising. I'm going to look and feel good. I'm going to have more energy. And I'm fighting cancer at the same time. I'm preventing cancer. Trent, I love stuff like that because you and I, the next time we exercise, you listening, the next time you exercise, if you just direct your mind, smile, and have fun while you're exercising, you could kill cancer. And then she said, but you could do it knitting. If you're doing something you love, walking with a friend, playing a sport, painting, and you love it, your body is producing these cells. I love those empowering strategies because you could use them in every area of your life. So I've been able to connect with these teachers because I have empathy for them because I've lived with a teacher for 24 years. I understand their challenges. I also know how to tap into what's most important and then prevent burnout by eating, exercising, and controlling your anxiety. I think that's why I've been successful. I'll say it that way.
Really love the mentality of that, tying back to the physiology, because back to our purpose. If I'm doing things in work on my purpose, I enjoy it. I get value from it. I give value to others, which makes me feel good about me. There's all these things that are triggered in this, even at work, folks. So this is an interesting thing, and I want to talk about this for a second because the people that you have, and I want to add a new dynamic out there, folks, for Peter, which is if you are in the medical community, please, Peter, for an event, call me. Like, listen, I'm telling you, you're going to want, because the thing that I'd like you to speak to really quick is corporate is often, we only have 20% college grads in our workforce, right? The things you talked about, corporate, school, and I'm going to add into your motif medical. these are well-educated, well-trained people. They know how to learn. These are three of the most unhealthy physical communities
Yeah.
I've ever seen in my life. And it throws me. And I'm teachers, you're right back to like not taking care of yourself. Put your mask on first, right? Before you put the mask on others. And I think that's so evident there. And then the nursing, the people in the hospitals who have got all this medical training and knowledge, and they
Yeah.
walk around and they're so unhealthy. I mean, the food in the station, in the medical songs, Mountain Dews and just stuff that are,
Mhm.
sorry about those brands, but like those are not the healthy brands, right? And
Right.
like they taste good, by the way. But like this isn't where people are at getting themselves better, feeling good about themselves. So why the gap, Peter? Why do we have these superhumans that are very well trained and by the way, really have this desire to help others, which is probably why they got in this thing, right? Like the whole thing is a commitment to
Mhm.
help the future people, help them get
Yeah.
back to health,
Yeah.
help them be a better kid and then grow into an adult, help our company create value in the world and a better product. And we've been trained and learning, and we're actually really good at learning. Why the gap on their health?
Such a good question, Trent. The first thing that comes to mind, and I think there's a couple of things. There is such a disconnect between what we're told in media about food, about exercise. A lot of that stuff is someone selling a product. I'm not judging any of them. I'm not calling them, you know, it is what it is. But that has caused a disconnect. Even in the medical community, people, doctors don't get much nutrition training, but still, you're a learner. You can learn and you could see, oh, people that eat healthier are healthier. They don't get cancer, diabetes, heart disease, strokes, Alzheimer's, etc. Where's the disconnect? Some of the disconnect I think comes from the really powerful and effective marketing saying, don't worry about your health. You go and work. If you're a mom, don't worry, you go and work. We, the company, we're going to make you meals, fast food meals, frozen meals. We're going to give you supplements. We're going to give you energy in a bottle. Again, I'm not judging any of that. I just know if I consume those products and give those products to my children, they will get sick. They will gain weight. Their brains will go offline. Their anxiety will increase. They'll start to have type 2 diabetes in their teens, which never happened before. It's all the food. A lot of it's the food. And so I say to my clients, look, you could eat. I grew up, because my parents were poor, my mom worked in a factory on a sewing machine. I grew up on Burger King, McDonald's, and White Castle. So
Yeah.
if I can get off that stuff, anyone can get off. I literally grew up on that
And all
stuff.
that, not the higher quality stuff, the value meal that was affordable, because
Yeah,
that's what it's
it
like
was
when you're
cheap
from
and
a family
fast.
that's low middle class, right? Like this
Of
is it.
course. That's why I don't judge anyone. Look, you got to
Yeah.
do it. You got to support your family. But if you want better for yourself and for the children in your life, and you want to get connected to your purpose and serve, maybe you're serving children as a teacher, or you're doing something in corporate that does some good for people, or you're in the medical profession, look at the food you're eating. Look at if you're moving your body, training your body. Look at, are you controlling your anxiety? That's why, to me, it just makes sense. You want to be incredible at your job. You want to be a leader. Don't bypass the food you're eating, the exercise you're doing, controlling stress, and connecting to your purpose. Those things will give you any success you want. Because even if you don't make money, if you're doing those things, you're healthier, you look good, you're connected to your family, you're a role model for your kids, you're going to feel better about yourself. And I think the inevitable is you're going to be successful because you're doing those things for yourself and for the people that you care about.
Well, I'm going to say a couple of things. One is as a guy coaching the most elite athletes in the world. The nice thing was most of them had a Porsche, right? So like I would tell them like, hey, listen, on a specialized car like a Porsche or a Lamborghini, you don't just let any mechanic manage it, and you don't put bad fuel in it, because it will wreck. It will not operate the way you think if you do not care for it, right? And you put bad fuel in that thing, it's like, oh, wow, man, I used to go 0 to 60 in like 3.2, and now it's, 6 seconds. Like, yeah, like you can't put like E85 in your Lambo, bro. Like,
Yeah.
and this is how I would try to educate them on their body. You're this high performing vehicle. You putting crap into your body, you're not going to continue to perform long term. This
Yeah.
thing's going to go bad relatively quickly, and it's being eaten from the inside out, because the bad fuel is,
So
it's
true.
tearing up pipes, it's eliminating fuel, it's all of a sudden stuff's dripping out, so the exhaust system's jacked up, and then you get all these issues that are happening, but you don't see it. You don't see it for 6 months, right? Like, it's there's no visible issues.
Yeah.
Except now that I park, there's a big water spot or something, oil leaking or whatever when I leave. And it's like, oh, I got to go put oil in the car like every maybe 200 miles or something. I got to drop a quart. Like, hey, that's not how it's designed to work. Something's wrong, right? So that's one, is that I don't, and I want to talk about this because the thing that sticks in my mind is, like, I work out hard. And I always remember talking about this, like, you can't outwork a bad diet,
Mm-hmm. It's going to catch
no
up
matter
to
what
you.
I do.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I've
It's
done it.
going to
I've
catch
done
up
it,
to you.
man. I've gone to the gym for 3 hours and then gone home, large pizza, blah, blah, blah. And I go, where's my abs? I can't see my abs. I just
They're
got
under
crap
there.
fuel, man. Yeah, they're under there somewhere,
Yeah.
but I
They're
got crap
there.
fuel. Yeah.
Right.
I can't outrun the bad diet.
I have a great story about that. About 20 years ago, I was working as a physical therapist. This is about when I was starting my speaking business. And I was working for another company, a physical therapy company that worked with a lot of professional athletes. So one day my boss says to me, hey, can you work with this guy? He's a basketball player. So I'm kind of, even though I played college football, I never really followed. My friends think I'm weird that way. So I go to the gym. We're treating this athlete at a gym because he's recuperating from knee surgery to go back to his sport. It ends up being Jason Kidd in the NBA. You know
Sure.
who Jason Kidd
Yeah.
is, I assume.
Yeah.
One of the
New Jersey
legends
Net.
of the NBA.
Yeah.
What's that?
New
Yeah.
Jersey Net, man.
Yeah. So an NBA legend. I don't know who it is, but I'm impressed with this guy. He's working hard. And then we're done with the session. I'm a physical therapist, so I'm helping him with some of his drills. We're treating his knee. And then we start a conversation. And it came up that I'm a nutritionist. I also have the nutrition degree. He goes, that's awesome, Pete. I go, why? He goes, you have no idea how many of my fellow colleagues in professional sports don't look at their nutrition. He's like, I don't understand it. He had a nutritionist that he worked with because he knew it was, like you said, with the Porsche, you got to put fuel into that.
Yeah.
So when he said that 20 years ago, Trent, it was like, oh my God, these guys are at the top of their game. They're the best in the world. And they're not looking at their nutrition. Now, today, I think they're looking at it more because we just know a lot more. But there's still a lot of us, maybe we're not professional athletes. We're not looking at the only place fuel comes from is food. The place confidence can come from is exercise, plus all those feel-good chemicals and controlling stress and anxiety. I keep bringing that up because you know this. Think about athletes, players go into a slump in baseball. It's all in the mind. It's psychological. If you can address anxiety, if you can control anxiety, and there's ways to do that, something that's called the vagus nerve exercise, which is scientifically proven. I've seen it work. It's a 60-second exercise that controls your anxiety, gets your brain back online, and now you're confident again. You're up to bat, and there's nothing going to stop you from hitting that ball. Like, you still fail 7 out of 10 times, but you could still be, the best in the world if you just hit that ball 3 times, or 30%. So
Yeah.
Again, I just love those strategies. Like, I don't want to leave anything on the table for myself, for my career, my health, and my kids. I want to give them every possible tool, not only to be successful, because how many people do you know, Trent, that are successful? They're making a ton of money, but their health is terrible. They have no health, so they can't enjoy their success. So who cares? It doesn't matter. That's why I wanted to give this to myself first and to my kids and now to my audiences, because it's just so awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I think it's so important. And one of the things I tell a lot of leaders is positioning is a big deal. You are positioned for the next opportunity. What Peter is doing is he's looking at all the little things of his clients. He's going to give you all the education to be prepared for what you have to do. And the most tragic cases I see is the little poor disciplines, the little decisions that have a lot of impact. They have a lot of downstroke. They're causing you to like, oh, I ate like trash. Guess what? I didn't get any sleep. I'm not sharp at the 8:30 a.m. meeting. It's the biggest meeting of your life. And instead of you going in there and showing everybody what you could do and closing the biggest deal of your organization or setting this thing off with these kids and getting them started the right way, you're like, oh, tired. I slept like trash. I'm having a bad day, kids. Just read your books and don't make any noise. And I don't want to have it. I'm like, oh my gosh, Mr. Clark's being a jerk again today. Like, it's like, I just set the whole tone for the whole thing because
100%.
these little decisions I made eliminated me from being the best I could be when it's needed. And I see it all the time.
Yep. Yeah. And people don't have to be perfect. I agree, Trent, 100% what you just said. It's just so true. You got something so important in the morning and you're going to, and I'm not judging anyone. I've done this. You're going to overeat. You're going to overdrink. You're not going to go to bed. You're going to be, digesting social media and getting pulled into stuff and scrolling. Next thing you know, you didn't sleep. You got to show up to this meeting. You got to be your best. And we're remarkable because we could still show up to that meeting and like pull it off, but it doesn't feel good. You're not your best. And you walk away feeling like a phony. I did that for years. I spoke to the third largest law firm in the world. They flew me around the country they had an office in every LA, Boston, Chicago, New York. And I felt like a phony, man, because I showed up the night before. I didn't eat well. I didn't get good sleep. I wasn't doing, I wasn't taking care of myself. But then I would get up and perform. But then I'd walk away saying, they're going to find out I'm a phony. That's the imposter syndrome. That's such a popular thing I think everyone experiences that. So I didn't want to feel like that anymore. I didn't want to be successful and then come home and feel like a phony and not be successful and not feel good. So everything I've shared with you through this podcast, this makes sense to me. I'm going to connect to my purpose. I'm going to eat to succeed. I'm going to train my body. I'm going to control my anxiety, and I'm going to be a mentor to my kids. That to me is a formula for success that I can continually reproduce. It's sustainable. I will not burn out doing that, and I will go as long as I want to go. That's why I love this stuff.
That's great, man. It's so good. And and I agree with you. For folks out there, like, listen, I was training the most elite athletes in the world, training myself, knew exactly what's good for me, yet room service with bonbons, like, listen, I'm tired. In the path of least resistance, we will make bad choices, right? And I tell a lot of people, when you make enough bad choices, fatigue sets in, right? And the old adage, fatigue makes cowards of us all. We've got to be able to control and those emotions and controlling our anxiety and controlling through our rest. And I'm preaching to myself here because I'll tell you my big challenge in my life is sleep. I don't lay the body down, man. I stay up late. I get up early. I'm a busy guy who's got a lot of responsibilities and a lot of things. And I neglect my self-care by not getting enough hours of rest. And it's definitely hampered me, man. And I continue to run on adrenaline, right? But
I hear you,
is
man.
that my best? Is that really my best?
Right.
Probably not.
I admire your honesty and your transparency. Look, we're not perfect. I have an 80-20 rule. If 80% of the time I can do all these things I'm talking about, then if at 20% I go crazy, drinking, eating, staying up all night, it's not going to affect me. That 80% keeps me focused, healthy, and I could recover much quicker. So no one's perfect. No one's saying you have to be.
All right, for everybody out there, we got to wrap this because I got to be respectful of Peter's time. Peter K Fitness, reach out to him for this recipe and this very simplistic workout. Like, listen, I will tell you, he's going to give you a great workout, great recipe for taking care of yourself. This is very important. It's going to be relatively simple. Simple doesn't mean easy, right? Simple means I can do it, but now you have to go do it. Take action daily, 80% of the time. Like Peter's just said, I got to stay in this thing 4 out of 5. Like I'm always on focus, on point. But you can email him at peter at peterkofitsas.com, Kofitsas. It's there on the screen. You can see that and check that out. And lastly, Peter, I just like to wrap up. Like, man, you went through a hard time. I mean, a decade of hard time. You know, you're dealing with a very strange reality of a father, and then you're dealing with this great athlete and walking away, and probably some levels of depression and the anxiety in your life. If someone's there today and they're in that rut, what's something they can do right now to start doing something different?
Ask for help. I never asked for help, Trent, because I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. I felt like I was the only one. I think you and I spoke about this before we came online. We feel like sometimes we're the only one going through this. There's something wrong with us. Reach out, man. I wish I did that. It wouldn't have taken me 10 years. Look, it did. It took the time that it needed to take. But if I had met my therapist, Frank, 20 years ago, he would have helped me laser focus because I couldn't. You know, we're smart, but we don't see what's obvious sometimes, what we need in our life. Someone, a coach, right? Look at you, a coach, me, a coach, a mentor, a good therapist, someone that can get laser focused. Say, Peter, this is what you're challenged with. Here are strategies that we know from other human beings because we studied this for years. We know what it takes to get out of this depression, what connects to purpose. Ask for help. I think that's the number one thing you could do. Find a mentor, work with a coach, make the investment. It's absolutely worth it. If you want to be a winner and if you want to connect to your purpose and you want to enjoy that success, ask for help.
I love it. Peter, I think your whole story, it's like you wrote the whole Ted Lasso script, by the way. Like, you know, on leadership, you know, I think they tapped into Peter Kofitsas is all his best things. And if you watch Ted Lasso, he'll walk you through actually it happening in real life. Like, because there's so many storylines in that series that you just talked about. And they're trying to kind of direct people's step about the challenges and the hurts and going through it. So I think it's really interesting. You probably have to do a little side, couple of reels on Ted Lasso leadership. All right.
I'm going to look into it. Thanks, brother.
That's awesome. For everybody, listen, thank you for joining us on the Winners Find a Way show. Peter Kofitsas, you can find him again, peterkofitsas.com. Hit him up for the recipe of the workout. Check him out. Always for hire, corporate, school. And now I'm telling you, medical, you better go out and get this guy because this is high quality. So until next time, we are on live every Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. Winners Find a Way show, LinkedIn Live, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, and our podcast drops every Friday morning. For next time, check us, Winners Find a Way.